Today we are reviewing True Justice Family Ties.
Was justice served, or is it guilty of wasting our time? This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel.
Hello, I'm Andrea.
And I'm Eric. And this is Hallmark Mysteries and More.
All right, so today our description of the movie, it's not very long. It is a law school student and her friends set out to prove her brother's innocence, but the only way to clear his name is by finding the real killer. And this movie starred Katherine McNamara, Markian Tarsuk, might have butchered that, Nikki DeLoach, and Benjamin Ayers.
Haven't heard of any of them.
I mean, half of them have been on regular Hallmark movies quite often.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get into it. So you know my theory, though, on short descriptions tend to be better movies. Long descriptions tend to be bad. We talked about that a lot about the holidays. So, I didn't go back and double check it, but we have a short description. So I'm feeling optimistic here. And
I'm optimistic.
we have been battling a little bit. But I think we're a little agreement today. So, Andrea, overall, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, don't want to ever see it, this is trash, we're guilty of wasting our time, or 5, justice was served, what do you give True Justice Family Ties?
Okay, so I watched this movie now about 3 times.
Whoa.
I know. The first time I only watched the first hour and then I shut it off because I wasn't a big fan of the first hour. And I heard that actually from many people in the DMs. So I decided, okay, let me try it again the next day. And I loved it. The second hour for me is when the movie really picked up. So the first half, I would say a 3. Second half would be like a 5. So it kind of comes out as a 4 in the end for me.
And did that, even when you watched it again, did it still have, you think, the slow, or did you appreciate the beginning a little more on your second or third, whatever?
I will say the third time, I appreciated it more as a whole. I think this is a struggle for any new mystery series is getting behind the characters, getting to know the characters. And I think that was probably the
That's why
struggle
we
for
need
me.
3.
Right. And well, even to watch it 3 times, because that also helped me like, okay, I'm starting to develop like an understanding of the characters. I'm enjoying certain characters more than I did that first viewing. I'm invested more into their lives, which I think for an ensemble cast like this is the whole goal of these type of movies.
All right.
What did you think?
I landed in the same number of 4. I will say 2. When I started watching it, because we've been talking to the producer, we've been talking to a lot of the people and trying to get really behind it and get people excited for this. And I agree. I thought it started out a little, now it didn't last an hour, but I do think it started out a little slow. And I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna feel bad having to give this a just marginal review. But it's mostly just because Marcus, the character, I didn't like the brother there, and
Mm.
it kind of was ruining the beginning of the movie for me because I just found him annoying and I wanted him to stay in jail, and I would be like, leave him. But once they got into the ensemble cast, I was really grooving. So for me, I want to say it was the first like 20 minutes. I was like a little bit, oh no. But then I got into it. So I give it a solid 4.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you with the brother. I felt the same way. It was probably about the first 50 minutes was the piece for me where it finally turned after that 50-minute mark. But that brother, there was quite a few scenes in those, first 50 minutes with
Yeah.
him. And I also felt the same. It felt like he was acting like he was in jail, and it didn't feel like it quite clicked the performance. And so it
It
was a little rough where it kind of took you out of the movie.
I went back and I was like, okay, maybe this was his first acting gig kind of thing because, secondary character, Hallmark spent its money on the others. But he's been in a few things. I so when he was with Catherine there at the beginning, Casey, and she's like talking to him, it was just such a contrast in acting ability. Like you said, he was clearly looked like he was in a high school play, and I Love Classified, I thought was a great movie. I really enjoyed
Mhm.
that movie. And I'll be honest, that's like my real exposure to Katherine McNamara.
Same.
But after watching this, I'm like, that girl can act. She She was good throughout the movie. I love the way she was talking to him. But like I said, she should have been saying, "Sorry, Marcus, I can't do anything for you. You're in jail. We're gonna go on, live our life, and have a good time down at the bar." But all right.
Oh,
But
no.
all right. So let's go a little bit more into the mystery portion of our mystery minute. How
Yeah.
did the
Well, we should also
mystery
just say there are new
okay.
segments. So if people are longtime listeners, like
Oh,
we're doing some new segments, which this is our first time with these new segments. So let us
okay.
know how they work for you because we're kind of mixing things up, and we have a few different segments that Eric and Sydney didn't have before. So if you're like, oh, this is a little different,
It
we're trying
is.
something different.
We're trying to also increase the pace a little bit. So we'll see if people like that, whether or not they want to hear us drone on and on. So, but okay, yeah. So we're going into the mystery minute where this is where we're going to just talk about the twists and turns of the mystery. Did it hit? Did it, miss and stuff? So we liked the overall movie. How about the mystery? Did it hit for you?
Yeah, so spoiler alert if you are listening and you have not watched, I am gonna spoil something here. So I actually really enjoyed the two different killers. I thought that was a great twist from Hallmark and did not see that coming. Often it's the same person. If there is a double murder, or if there's two murders happened in the movie, it's the same killer for both. And so I did pick out the female killer. I did peg her just because a lot of the times they give us a ton of red herrings in the movies. I
Right.
don't think they gave us really any besides the couple. I mean, it was one of them had to have done it. And then, when the husband ended up dead, you're like, well, obvious it's a female, but I had kind of thought that for. I also thought it was the dad, but I'm like, why would he kill his daughter? He seems really beat up about this, but he did have that guilty look and feel about him throughout the movie. So I kind of had it. I just didn't think that he would have killed someone. I just thought, oh, there's something off about this guy.
I hope you're never on a jury for me if you're like, you just look shady. I think you're guilty.
I
But
don't know. I know that I'm not the only one who thought that. I think someone posted that in my comments too. I was like, I thought the same thing. He just had this guilty look about him, or the way he played the character made it seem like there's some shady stuff going on here.
well, I was sending you messages while I was walking, or while I was watching. I watched the next morning, and I was like, I think I know who it is, and I totally nailed, yeah, the wife as the killer, but I did not see the dad at all. In fact, I first when it like happened, I was like, wait, what happened? What happened? Because I don't know if it's a whatever. I kind of pride myself in being able to figure these mysteries out. And I thought, like you said, it was like little obvious of who it is,
Yeah.
but kind of, I think Mystery 101 doesn't always conceal that killer much, but it's a good story and it spins it well and it does good with the job with the characters that it never bothers me. And
Right.
that's how this movie was as well. And it wasn't until, like I say, once they threw the dad in there, I started doubting myself. And then even when
Mhm.
they show up and it's the final scene, I'm like, wait, is she really just like upset or nope, hands on the throat.
Yeah.
Nope, nope, I was right. So
Oh.
like I say, I thought it was a good mystery, maybe not the most difficult to solve, but still an interesting one.
Yeah, and I liked the female killer, so the wife. I actually really liked her character. I'm like, she seems like someone, minus the fact she killed people, but I was like, it seems like she would be a cool friend. Like, I really liked the way that she acted out this character. Like, sometimes we have the killers who are just obviously
Right.
mean and just like the husband seemed that way. But she seemed like, oh, she has her stuff together. She had that emotion when she talked about, not having kids. And I just, you kind of felt for her. And so she really played, I thought she played that character really well because I felt empathy for her. And you kind of really, in that last scene, even before, she went for the throat, you're just like, I mean, you just saw her humanness, which I don't know if they always do that in Hallmark mystery movies. So I really enjoyed seeing that aspect of her character.
I wonder if that has anything to do with having a team of woman writers who maybe have a little
Mm,
different perspective of how they, create that character. Yeah, I do like obviously the cheating husband who's flaunting it and everything like that. Like, I don't think it justifies murder, but like you say, you do develop a little bit of empathy for them. And once again, that's kind of a Mystery 101 thing too, where usually the killer in Mystery 101, I don't want to say is justified per se, but they got a little something going on. It's not like they're just like, hey, I'm gonna run and kill people. So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
All right. All right. Well, our next this new segment here is called Romance Roundup. This used to be our steam meter, but now we're a Romance Roundup. So what do you think? Did you feel any chemistry in this movie?
Yeah, I think there was 3 romances that I kind of pieced from, obviously, Nikki and Benjamin Ayer's character. I thought that was great. That scene was probably
I
my favorite
wish
scene.
I wish they didn't release it
I know, that
because
scene
that
was
would have
really
been
good.
like when I saw it on social, I was like, wait, what? I wish they wouldn't have released it because that would have been great just to have that
100%.
there. But
Yes. I mean, that scene really was probably one of the best scenes. It was just cute, and the way that, Casey came in and kind of played it
right.
like, "Oh, this is awkward." It's
Yeah, yeah, I
but
loved it.
that was a great scene. And then between Casey and Eli, I thought they had some great chemistry. I did find it awkward that, like, if she was friends with his ex-girlfriend who was just murdered, and
His ex-girlfriend was just murdered. I mean,
they're kind of flirtatious, that whole kind of element you have to kind of put on the back shelf, I guess, a little bit because seems a little
they
fast.
and they did at the end. Like I say, it was kind of like,
It
are
was
we gonna be
playful.
friends?
Right.
So yeah, but there was definitely a little flirtation, little chemistry, but they did keep it at bay, which I think is appropriate for just having, yes, your friend and girlfriend murdered.
Yeah, and I think when they were, playing like husband and wife when they did the consult, I
Yes.
really liked the part where she kind of like he went to grab her hand and she slapped away. She's like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh, that was just a cute little like subtle thing." But like I think this movie had a lot, just as I had said with with the female killer, like they just had a lot of those little subtle elements thrown in there that again, having watched it 3 times, I noticed those little things that I maybe wouldn't have the first brush, but they really, I think, help again the movie show what they're trying to do between these characters and build some of that ensemble cast. Because then my last, chemistry was Liam and Sarah. I thought I really hope that they get together in future movies. I really enjoyed their chemistry, the little quick banter, the cerebellum, the little
Right.
nickname that he gave her. I thought that was super cute. And I can see something maybe in the future building there that they could play with.
Yeah, I loved the where she was like rebuffing his advance, but you could tell it was like she's
Intrigue.
yeah, she's like, no, but maybe. So yes, I liked them as well. Um I thought so Markian, I thought he, like I said before, with Kat just being really solid acting, I thought he definitely held his own. And the thing that was interesting with like the romance roundup, we shared how Benjamin Ayers did this for free because Nikki asked. I think she's like, "Hey, I'll let you kiss me if you're in this movie for free." And he's like, "Ah, sign me up." Right? Because he didn't have as big of a role as I thought. He was in there, a couple scenes, we knew he was supporting. And that was like really the scene for Benjamin.
Yeah. I mean, I know he's in future ones or potentially in future ones, or
Right.
that's what your interview, said, that's what Michael had said that they had signed on and there is, this is an ongoing character. So, I think they worked together well on I liked their Cranberry Christmas movie. And so
Yeah.
maybe, they built that friendship and was like,
It,
hey,
and we talked about when we were doing our year in review the chemistry between Andrew and Nikki, how we think it's a little more, brotherly sistery. I think yeah, Benjamin and her have a little more like, oh hey, we could be this, you know,
completely agree.
this couple. So I like that as well. All right, this is the one I'm really looking forward to because I have a character in here that I
Do you
loved.
have romance roundup? Anything to add?
Oh, I was agreeing with everything you said.
Okay. I didn't know if
Yes.
you had any
Yes,
others
my
or
my
you
mine was
didn't.
just the Nikki and Benjamin kiss, and then just that how they had that flirtation with Casey and Eli, but they kept it appropriately distanced. And I agree with you. I love the scene when they were Eminem at the thing and how they just play married. I thought they did it beautifully, and it was just setting up future. So we once again we need more of these. So as my self-proclaimed future CEO of Hallmark, I will make sure it happens. So, okay, so moving on to the character corner where we're going to highlight our standout characters from the film. And you said it's an ensemble cast, so there's plenty to be had. So, who
Yeah.
is your favorite character of the movie?
So mine is Liam. I
Hands
thought,
down, yes.
is that yours too?
Totally yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Loved
funny.
Liam. He was
So
hilarious.
Alexander Nunez, I looked up his name and just kind of, I thought he brought such just a lightness and competency at the same time. Like he was fun, he was playful, but also he was like, let's get down to business. Like,
Right.
I'm getting paid to do this. And I
He
think
wasn't
that
Mason from Curious
no,
Caterer, right?
correct. Yeah, so, like, he could actually do his job, and, I think that character really tied together the group well, or kind of what they showed us of him, and I would love to know more about his backstory, just as we heard just a little bit in the van, between him and Sarah, and, that's where I think this movie or this series could really you could have a whole movie focused on Liam next, and a little bit more
Right.
about his story, and then Sarah, and you could really play with this, and I think they did a good enough job of exploring each of the characters enough that we're kind of interested. The one that they didn't show a lot, and I don't know her name. It's the other female.
The one who did the forensic.
Yeah, and she wasn't in it a ton, which totally makes sense because with an ensemble cast, you're gonna have someone who's a little, doesn't have quite the biggest role. So I would love to see more with her, but I don't know a ton about her after this first movie. And maybe that's on purpose. Maybe they have things that they want to pull, or they maybe have someone else who they want to pull into the cast. Cause I think this could throw in another love interest and maybe have him part of the group.
Right.
So I like that that door is open, but I definitely think Liam for me was just the one who was the standout performance that I didn't know I needed.
So it was PJ Ellis.
Okay.
PJ was she's the forensic uh one. And but yeah, I agree with you so much with or actually, or was Sarah the forensic and PJ was
I think Sarah was the
she was
forensic.
the one who had the evidence and all of that, right?
Yeah.
There was like, yeah, like you said, Liam just had so much to him. And the great thing about this, and kudos to Nikki and Megan for writing a good script with characters, is sometimes those secondary characters, they don't flesh out very well.
Right.
But they, like you said, they built enough of the story there. Like one of the things that had me was his Magnum PI. Oh, I really liked Magnum PI and stuff, and I'm a huge Magnum PI fan, so totally dug that.
So that's why
Um,
you watched that Murder, She Wrote episode.
so
Hmm.
was that I don't know, is that a Magnum PI? I don't remember. I've already blocked it out of my brain.
Well,
No,
I
no,
know what Murder Wro well, then I know what Murder, She Wrote episode I'm gonna make you watch.
yeah, I don't think that was the right one, but
Okay.
yeah, getting back to Liam, he just was the way he just interacted with everybody. I think you just summed it up perfectly. He was competent and still playful and fun. So loved him as a character. Um, I will say the one thing if we're getting a little critical of a character, was Nikki as being a professor, being a law professor, and letting the sort of the class get a little unruly. I think like
What do you mean by that?
like when Eli and Casey started going at it with each other, like, oh, hypothetically, if someone were to
Hmm.
murder, someone and just be at like, they were clearly doing their little passive aggressiveness at each other and disrupting the whole class. Like, I think she would have, like a real professor
I
would have
don't
done that. But
know.
it made for fun and entertainment. So
I feel like
all my
I've been in
universe.
classes. I mean, I went to a liberal arts school and they definitely let people kind of go at each other with different opinions and ideas. I've been in classes like that.
Yeah, well,
So
of
I
one
I
who
didn't
was about
notice
a
that.
murder of the
Well,
like
no, not
clearly that kind of thing. Like I
no,
said, it
not like
was
that.
there. Yes.
No, not
It was
that.
a
I don't think.
clearly a personal attack on each
Yeah.
other kind of thing
Yes.
versus, yes, just a healthy debate. But whatever, nitpick. Like I said, I thought everyone was good. The only thing and this may go back to the mystery, but like Benjamin, we talked about how he didn't have a huge role. Who gave the envelope? And maybe I missed it since you saw it 3 times and I only saw it twice. Who gave the mystery envelope with the lead?
They
Was it
never said well, Nikki gave it to him, but I don't think they
right?
actually ever said, they just said someone special.
Uh,
Maybe assuming it
I s-
was
that's who
him.
I thought it was, but I don't know. Did
Yeah,
you
that's it did they never confirmed. They just I'm
but
assuming
do you have a guess of who you think it was?
that's who I thought it was too.
Okay, so
So,
bottoms.
I was just
Okay.
assuming it was him. I
But
also would say the one thing that happened with the characters, I liked Casey, the leading lady. I
yes,
thought her
she was
crying skills
absolutely
were
fantastic.
on point every time she cried. But the one thing that Hallmark mystery movies always does with like, why do you send him like, hey, I'm gonna call you, first I'm gonna text you. And so they're talking to a killer. And then they decide to call, let me answer this. Oh, now I'm gonna send you a video as the killer's like behind them. That whole thing. I know it's done for like drama purposes, but I was like, why don't you just send the text first? Like who would do all of those steps if this was actually the case? You would quick send off a text, especially if you know you're with the killer, like, hey, Frank did it. Are you okay? Like, not let me call you, let me text you, and let me send you a video. Like, who's gonna have time to do all those things and not get killed themselves?
So I agree with you. So one of the things I'll just quickly touch on as far as the last thing of the character corner, it was an ensemble cast, and they did do the little slow walk together as they all came right, from his little van, and they all turn the corner and they're doing their little slow walk together. So that was classic.
I love that.
And then they had another line in there, and I think it was Sarah, but it was never trust a man with two first names. And
Mhm.
then Liam reiterated it. And that's actually been one of my philosophies in life too. People who have two first names, never trust them. So I loved seeing that in the movie. I didn't know that
Oh my
other people
gosh.
thought that. So that
Oh,
was
many
great.
people do. I think that's the thing.
Oh, it is? Okay, good. It should
I
be.
don't I don't think that, but
Well, you don't you have a proper last name, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so let's Hallmark trivia time. Something like that maybe people didn't know about the actors or the directors or something in the movie. I do have one thing for this, and it is going to be if you follow us on social as well, I'll be ruining the surprise for next Monday. But the judge in the case was Judge McNulty, who Megan McNulty is the writer. So it was well, she's also an actor, um, like Nikki, but she didn't have a role in this movie as well. And when I've been talking to her on Instagram quite a bit, she's super nice, super super nice. But I was like, hey, wait a minute! It was on my second watch when I saw Judge McNulty, and I had to go back and like, did I get it right? Sure enough, so I sent her a picture, and she like gave me a little winky. So they purposely,
cute.
that's how they acknowledged her in this movie, even though she didn't have an actual role. And like I say, the other
Cute.
trivia thing is that we learned that Benjamin did do this movie just because Nikki really thought he would be perfect. I agree. I thought he rocked the role, and he did it for free. It gets back to, we've talked many times about just that Hallmark universe. Number one, how great they treat their fans, and us included, but then just how they're also very much a family together. There's like that very big clique of the popular people, and he's definitely in that clique with Nikki. And I could see them calling up, any of them. Hey, Paul Campbell, you want to do this? Kimberly Sussad, will you do this? Andrew, will you do it? And them all agreeing and saying, sure, I'll do this. Aaron Cahill, come on over. So
Yeah.
no,
Well, my
I bet they all would prefer to get paid, but
my trivia is got a Virgin River twist to it.
of
So
course.
Markian Tarasuk, the leading guy, Eli, he actually played in 2 episodes of Virgin River as a love interest to Lizzie in season 4. So if people were looking and they're like, maybe I've seen him before, he came in and I think he played one of, now I'm forgetting the guy, Jack and uh
Wait, the main girl?
Lawrence. No, now the guy who plays in the Hallmark movies, I can't remember his Virgin River name. Lawrence, who is in Virgin River.
Benjamin Hollingsworth?
No, he has only been in a couple movies, and I'm
Yeah.
sure other people know who I'm talking about. Jack's best friend, the one who runs the bar with him. He played one of his, I think, troop brothers that had came into the movie.
I think I just need to watch some Virgin River just so I can
You
keep
do.
track of all the Hallmark people.
I know there's a lot of crossovers, and we have one coming this next week in the regular Hallmark movie that was also on Virgin River. So I'm
Okay.
enjoying that, and I know
I
others are too.
I know you do. I know you do. All right. Hallmark and chill time. So, is there any other show or movie, Hallmark or not, that you would, for people who enjoyed this, you think would be a good fit for them as well?
So the only thing that came to mind, and only because this is on Hallmark, usually in the early mornings or late at night, Matlock, because it's a courtroom drama and there was some courtroom in this. And so that's the only thing. It also has humor, but it also is, again, a competent movie or a competent, person who's running things. So I that's the only thing I could come up with.
I found Mark, his little description of it being 21 Jump Street meets Law and Order, a pretty good
Mm,
description of what it is, because it's like, all young
I've
people
never
who
seen Law
are
and
who are
Order, but
doing it. You've never There's like 18
I
of
know
them. I
I've
haven't
never
watched it
seen
in
Law and Order.
years, but I don't know how you could like not. But
No,
I guess all right. You're too busy watching Virgin River and Murder She
Murder
Wrote.
She Wrote.
But so there's that. But I also think if we're gonna get into a Hallmark one, I would put this in the Nikki and Nora, because once again, it's, fairly young characters. Um,
Mm,
it's got the sister bond thing going to it. So, it's clear it's obviously not a courtroom, it's not a drama, that kind of procedural thing, but it just had the same kind of vibe with, a lot of fun, a lot of banter in it, and um just diversity of characters with more than just one main, person. So, I would just say probably if you like one, you like the other. Maybe not. We'll see. If Let us know in our in our DMs over there on Instagram if you agree or do not agree with Matlock, a nice show from what 1978,
Well, it's the 80s. It's my prime time for my mysteries, apparently.
but starring a 1980s, starring a 150-year-old actor who's
Oh,
very similar to Katherine McNamara,
actually, I
but
Diagnosis Murder too. That's a great ensemble
another
cast. I
150-year-old dude.
also
So
love that series too.
that's Dick Van Dyke, right?
Yep, it's
So,
great.
all right. All right. All right. So our fan corner where we share either emails or DMs we get from fans. What I like to do is I know you ran a little poll to see what
And
everyone thought.
we pulled my
Are
numbers.
we aligned with the public, or are we out here on our own little mystery island? See what I did
Okay,
there?
so my final I did see that. My final poll numbers, 48% gave it 5 out of 5.
48. Oh,
26% gave 4 out of 5. 3 out of 5 was just 16, and then either a 1 or 2 star was just 10%. And I saw that, our podcast voted it a 1 star, so really, it's probably less than 10% that actually did, because we clearly didn't think it was a 1
oh,
star.
when I
That
did
was
it,
you, Eric?
yes,
Yes.
I did it just as a joke because I didn't want to give you my
No, and
wanted
you
to vote,
skewed.
but I
I
didn't want
already
to tell you
figured.
what I didn't want to tell
You
you what I was
skewed the
really
poll,
giving.
though.
I shouldn't have
So it
skewed the
was
poll.
so
All
it was
right.
probably more or
I,
less 50%. Most people really enjoyed this, which was, I think, great to see. And most of the comments that I had on my Instagram page, I had quite a few, and a lot. I only had one person who really wasn't a huge fan of it. Otherwise, everyone else really enjoyed this movie.
so I did the morning after, just the little slider bar,
Mm,
and I agree with you. The only person who didn't like it is the person who never agrees with us.
yeah, and we love her dearly.
I know. I know. But everyone, and I agree, it's like most of the mysteries seem to have even the popular ones, a lot of people like them, but there's also a lot of people who don't. Whereas this one seemed to be fairly, like I said, I did not see many comments saying I disliked
Didn't
the
like it.
movie at all.
Right.
So I thought that was
Right.
good, but we need more.
Yeah, I think
We
that's where,
can't have
I
a
mean,
one
and
and done.
even the one who had told us, that she wasn't a big fan of it, she would totally be open for more. She had told me, she's like, I'm totally open for more. And I think that's like a huge, I guess, tip of the hat to this movie for, having people, even if they didn't necessarily love it, they wouldn't be opposed to watching another. Um, whereas other movies, like we've seen quite a few of like maybe Curious Caterers, and maybe people are starting to either fall off the wagon or beyond. I'll be curious to see, like, numbers wise, how some of these, how that continues. Are people still going to be on board now that we're past that 3? Because I think a lot of people will give it this rechance, but then will it have that sustained I enjoy you factor, or will it kind of start to fall the wayside? Or does
Uh,
Hallmark not care? I don't know.
I don't know.
That also seems where you're like some I mean, obviously they canceled everyone's favorite in Mystery 101.
Oh, I thought you were gonna
Um,
say, Gourmet Detective, which is not canceled thanks to you.
I know I saw that on the page and I'm like, "Hey, so there's a chance." They didn't
Right.
say it wasn't. And they have been coming out and saying if they've shut down production or if they're not gonna renew it, they have been telling people, "We don't have plans for more." So for them to not say that they for sure don't have any, maybe there's some hope.
I well, obviously I've got one big in I love the show. I'd also love to see Brooke back. But Dylan's one of the guys who's great, who talks to us all the time. I'm
I
gonna have
love
to,
Dylan. He is one of my favorite Hallmark stars.
he didn't, he didn't comment on that, I don't think. So I'm gonna have to shoot it over to him and say, hey, because he may say, no, they canceled me.
Mhm.
He does not hide his true feelings.
I
So
love it.
he's a very good,
He's one of
open,
my
honest
fave.
guy. So all right. So we have a couple new
Mm.
mysteries coming out. First one is going to be in a couple weeks, Gilded Newport Mysteries, Murder at the Breakers.
Do you want me to read the description? I have it
Sure
pulled up.
thing.
A murder interrupts an 1895 Vanderbilt ball a society columnist is attending. And this is going to air February 2nd at 8 p.m., which is a Friday, Central Standard Time. It stars Ali Scoveby, Danny Griffin, and Nathan Witt. And so Ali Scoveby was in Firefly Lane as well as the Gourmet Detective, daughter of
Right.
Brooke Burns. And so you might remember her. I had forgot that she was the daughter until I think you had mentioned
Right.
that, and then when I was watching it, since they had a marathon on Saturday, I was watching or Sunday, whatever day it was, but I was watching the marathon and like, "Oh, there she is." I didn't even put it together when I was watching Firefly Lane that, that was her. So I'm excited to see her as a leading gal.
I am too.
The one thing I will say after watching the preview, I'm a little concerned for the costumes. Only I'm used to the HBO Max, like their Gilded
Their
Age, and
budget.
their budget's
Right.
very large, and those costumes are gorgeous and on point for the era. These looked a little more costume shoppy and like they just got them out of the attic type of thing. So,
Ouch.
I mean, as long as they, kind of you can put that aside. That's what I'm going to try to do. Just having
Well,
watched the
I
previews.
will say, along the lines of Emma, the main character, she actually, because she is the Vanderbilt, but she's removed, so she works for herself, and she talks a lot about how her clothes are
Ooh,
constantly being repurposed, and so
okay. So then that would click.
Nanny's always trying to make her clothes look presentable, but she is not a Vanderbilt. Now that's the question. Do the Vanderbilts, when you get to them, are they going to have that, prestige? I don't know. So I
Mm,
will say Emma, the character, it's not a surprise if it's her that is there. So,
okay. Okay.
all right.
What
On a
about you? Are you
scale,
excited for that one?
oh, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Like I read the book. It's we talked to the writer who that will air the week before of the book, and she did say she was happy because she got to see a director cut, and she said it's holds pretty true to her book.
Okay.
So a lot of
Very
times
exciting.
it's totally nothing like it, where she
Yeah.
said this one does hold uh, pretty true to her story.
Okay.
And I just think it's fun doing the period piece. So I think
Oh
it's
yeah.
something totally different. I also think, we just got to see a movie with some young, but they're like 30-ish, right? I don't know how old they all are, but I'm putting them late 20s or 30, right? Whereas
Yeah.
getting an actual 21-year-old, and I will say that post when I posted the images, it is by far our highest ranking post. Danny Griffin, who I'm sorry, I got to get to know the guy. He has an insanely loyal base because
Mm,
they were reposting it, resharing it. Like we usually get, a few thousand things. We had, well, last time I looked, 38,000. We
oh
had
my gosh.
more saves than we usually have likes. Like we had
Oh my gosh.
198 saves of those pictures. So insane for that. So
I'm like looking up who he is. I got to figure out who Danny Griffin is.
I do not believe he was in
Oh,
Virgin River, but I would not be surprised if he said he was.
okay. Okay. I can see why the young girls probably, that is probably a young girl fan base, would be my guess.
You
Yeah, I don't recognize anything that he's been in, so, but he does have a large following.
All right. I'm going to roll on to February 23rd. We have another mystery. So within 2 months, we're going to have three mysteries. And this one is Crime Time Free Fall. And this is crime series actress Hadley Warner retires to a small town where she encounters her first real case. Using her TV crime knowledge, she teams up with Detective Sean Caden to solve the case. The stars Lindy Greenwood and Luke McFarlane. Luke McFarlane totally, after Catch Me a Few Claws, he just skyrocketed back way up to the elite with me again. He was so good in that after being in a couple movies. So, and then Lindy Greenwood, sh- she's not hard on the eyes, so I'll admit I'm quite excited for this one. I think it's good. Plus, uh, Stacey Harding, who directed Round and Round, which
Mm,
obviously I'm very big fan of.
yeah.
I'm like I say, I am very, very game for this. And the funny thing is, I've been talking to her over on Instagram because I'm trying to get her. It's like, oh, if you ever do, because she's done a bunch of different mysteries. She's done Mystery 101, like an episode of Mystery 101, like pretty much every single one out there. She's done a mystery. So I'm like, if you ever do a mystery again, um, I'd love to get you on the podcast. And she's like, well, maybe I've got one. Like she hinted that it was coming and she kept doing so, but she
Awesome.
wouldn't even tell me off record what it was. And then it dropped, and I'm like, send her the picture. I'm like, is this you? And then she's like, yeah, that's me. So I'm excited because once again, she's just an absolutely fantastic director. The cast, awesome, and we'll see. It's kind of a fun little premise. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm excited as well. I enjoy Luke and Lindy. I've enjoyed. I don't know if I enjoyed her last Christmas movie as much.
Yeah,
It wasn't her. It was kind of the movie overall. But I think those two together could be really really fun. And I like that premise of the TV actress, and moves to that small town. And I love a good small town cozy feels. So this is right up my alley in that regards. So I am hopeful that I will really enjoy that cozy setting, and I don't think I've seen any actual previews of this one. Have you on TV
I
yet?
I have not yet. I don't know if they've done any of
Any?
them
Okay.
yet.
I mean,
I've
I
seen
watch enough Murder, She Wrote at night or in the mornings that I haven't
right.
seen. Sometimes they'll drop them on there, and I haven't
Right.
seen any yet. But that's as long as the small town is cute and cozy, I am all in.
So I'm also excited to review it because, like I say, since Stacy's fantastic and talks to us, that I think she'll give um, hopefully she'll come on the podcast, but B, if not, she'll at least give us some good like behind the scenes, interesting, tidbits about the
Tidbits.
movie. So it'll be
Very cool.
it'll be good. So
Yeah.
okay, Andrea.
Well, we just have one more thing that we also have coming up. Remember, The Way Home starts this Sunday.
Oh, correct. Wait, it's this Sunday?
Yeah, this Sunday is the 21st.
And I
So,
promised you
yes,
that I
that we
would
would have
watch
a
it
little segment.
and we
So just
will be doing
review
little
the
reviews.
episode. Yes, we'll just do a quick little recap and review of the episodes. I personally, so this will be a great little segment potentially because I loved The Way Home. Eric didn't make it through the first three episodes of season one. So
No, I did
he
make it through the first three. I didn't make it through the first four.
Oh gosh. Okay, so he needs to go back and watch season 1, so he's ready for this.
Uh,
And then we'll see. We'll see if maybe we've turned a corner with him and he is all in, or we're just gonna have a disagreement every episode.
I will say I definitely am in the minority
Yes,
because
you are.
everybody says they love it. Everyone says it's like absolutely great TV. And then
Yeah,
even the ratings are mind-bogglingly good.
yeah.
So but I stood by myself defending Hannah, who is, by the way, filming as of today. I'm convinced that's what she is doing because
Oh,
Barbara
I'm
Niven
seemed like it.
posted a thing about how she's off to shoot, and
And
then
they're in the snow,
Hannah
unless it's a
posted.
Christmas
So,
movie, but doubtful.
I heard it snows in Minnesota. So
I don't think they actually film those in Minnesota though.
no, but that's where it takes place.
Yeah.
So it's
I was
not
like, it's
like
not actually, I mean, we have not had snow, so it's not being filmed here.
Right. So,
I will
but
also
yes.
say with The Way Home, my anticipation for this new season, like, I'm a little nervous because sometimes, Hallmark can drop the ball on season 2, and I know this was originally gonna be a Netflix series, and so I'm hoping that they had this kind of season 2 worked out if eventually it got picked up. So I am a little nervous that I'm gonna
Well,
make you watch it, and you're gonna be like, "Now I hate it
see, I'm
even
right.
more."
The
So that's where I am a little nervous.
and it is funny how there's like that the big breaking news about how there's semi-nude or almost nude because it has you know,
Andy
what's
McDowell in her
Andy
underwear.
McDowell in her underwear, which is funny because as people are saying like, "Oh, whatever," I'm like, by Hallmark standards, that's racy. But I do think when we actually see it, everyone's going to be like, "Wait, that was it?" But
Maybe she's she
kudos
could
to
be
her,
time
by the way.
traveling, and it could be like a huge long john,
But
who
kudos
knows?
to her that it's the more mature woman who's doing it
I
versus them
love
bringing
her.
in the young. Oh yeah,
Love
but
Andy.
I, you haven't seen like her movies though, going back in time, like Four
Cedar
Weddings and a
Cove.
Funeral. How have
Cedar
you not
Cove is
seen Four
great.
Wedding and a Funeral? Oh yeah, Dylan McNeil or Dylan
I
Neal
know,
there.
Dylan Neal. That's where I fell in love with Dylan Neal, was Cedar Cove, and I loved Cedar Cove. That was a show I wish
Sydney
they would
talked
have
me into
kept
that
around.
one because I hadn't
Did you
watched it
like that one?
ever. Yeah, but except for you get to see Brennan Elliott's a jerk.
I know, you
I
could
don't, I'm
really see
not
his acting
comfortable with. I'm
chops.
not comfortable with that.
I know, I
He's
really
like the
enjoyed
nicest
seeing that.
guy, and
I
he's
know.
not. So it's
Like, he's
just
a great actor, you can see from, like, the roles that he's played, so I actually really enjoy that, or just
yes,
seeing
it
him
just
play
made
a
me
different role.
uncomfortable. But I like Dylan Neal, so I like I say he's one of the cool guys. So I
Oh.
did enjoy that. But yes, Andy McDowell did exist before Cedar Cove, and if I'm watching Way Home, then I think you should watch Four Weddings and a Funeral.
I gotta find it on some streaming service. I'll do that.
Yeah, it's out there. So
Okay.
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 Well, this was
Alright, it's been a
fun.
pleasure.
Yes, and once again, it's awesome. We finally agree again. Real good mystery. Enjoyed it. Great acting, great chemistry, great all this stuff. So
And if
all
you,
in
like
around,
me, gave
really
up in
good.
that first hour, give it another go and see if that I think that second hour will get you pulled in.
Even though you spoiled it, but that's okay.
That is also true. I did have someone else in the
But you know
DMs.
what?
We
We
both quit
said,
early, and we both picked it up the next day and enjoyed it.
and
So I know I'm not the only one.
we said that even if you know who we figured it out, it didn't ruin
Yeah.
the movie. So
No, it
I
really I mean,
agree.
and you'll probably figure it out pretty easily as well, even if we didn't spoil it.
All right. We will see you later.
Bye.
Goodbye.